Welcome to the Prospective Doctor Podcast, brought to you by Med School Coach. Pre-med and medical students alike are encouraged to tune in each week for tips on how to become a strong med school candidate, gain acceptance into the school of your dreams, and succeed on your journey toward residency and becoming a doctor.
Hello, everyone. We have an amazing guest today, Dr. Christina Rosenthal, and it's actually our first dentist on our series. So we'll have a lot of questions to cover for all of you students who may be interested in pursuing dentistry. So I'll let Dr. Rosenthal introduce herself.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me. I am a general dentist, and I am a native Memphian from Memphis, Tennessee. I graduated from the University of Memphis and then went on to go to dental school at the University of Tennessee College of Dentistry. And that's been my journey. I opened up my private practice 1 year after graduating from dental school.
Wow, that was a big leap.
Yes.
Awesome. So what exactly made you choose the field of dentistry?
So unbeknownst to me, I have always had this weird fascination with teeth. And it was, I would say, maybe my freshman year of college, and my boyfriend, who is now my husband, brought it to my attention. He said, "You always stare at people's teeth and you always comment about them." So he's like, "You should consider dentistry." And I'm thinking, I don't want to smell breath, So I looked into the profession. I was actually a chemistry major when I started at University of Memphis, but I made a D my first semester. And so Spanish always came easily to me. And I said, screw it, I'll just drop the chemistry, biology. Well, I was a biology major, but I had to take chemistry. I just dropped the biology major and just pursue Spanish as my major. And he said, "I don't really think you should give up on, your dreams of going into healthcare." And so I did a little research. I had a meeting with the admissions counselor at the University of Tennessee College of Dentistry. He told me, "Don't worry about your major. You can stay a Spanish major. You don't have to major in the sciences. Just take the prerequisites to get into dental school." And that's what I did. I was a Spanish major, actually.
At Med School Coach, we know that getting into medical school is hard. In fact, 60% of pre-meds who apply to medical school don't even get accepted. And if you want to get accepted into a top medical school, it's even harder. It's a complicated process, and even students with great grades and MCAT scores get left out. That's why more students than ever are turning to Med School Coach for admissions advising. Our advisors are all physicians and former admissions committee members, so they know exactly what medical schools are looking for. One-on-one admissions advising from Med School Coach makes all the difference. Our expert team will help you develop a game plan, prepare your application, edit your essays, and coach you for interviews. Every pre-med has a story, and we'll help you tell it so you can stand out from the crowd. Visit us online at medschoolcoach.com and use offer code PODCAST10 to save 10% up to $400 on a Med School Coach admissions advising package. You can achieve your medical school dreams, and Med School Coach can help.
That's awesome. And I'm glad that you brought up that point, because there are a lot of students out there thinking that you have to major in one of the traditional sciences like chemistry or biology and things like that, when in actuality, you can come in and bring that diverse experience from a different major and actually can sometimes help with your application to set you apart from another. And now you have a skill, I'm sure, where you can speak with your patients in Spanish. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it also gives you, not that I am an advocate for a plan B, but if you wanted a plan B, like there are other things that you could do, and you're pursuing your passion, which makes you more energized and refreshed when you're even taking those science classes. So it's really a win-win.
Absolutely. What was your biggest challenge once you entered dental school?
When I entered dental school, my biggest challenge, what may not be a typical challenge for your audience, was having a toddler son. So my senior year in college, I became pregnant with my firstborn, and I only applied to one dental school. I only took the dental admissions test one time because I knew I needed a community of support to help me with my son. So I think the balance of, and I would say most of my peers found the most challenging thing to be not the rigor of the curriculum, but there was so much and compacted into one semester. So when you're accustomed to taking maybe 18 hours in college, you're taking like 36 hours in one semester. And I think that was heavy for a lot of people. But my personal experience was just the balancing act of being a young mother or a new mother and the rigor of the curriculum.
I appreciate that transparency because I know a lot of people on the medical school side can identify with this as well, where they're like, the information, like you all are very bright students and you've gotten this far and you're all able and capable of doing the work, but it's the magnitude of it and the sheer volume, whereas you may have a whole semester to go through a book. That's one course in one section.
Yes.
And it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose, if you want to use that analogy that is very common. And then on top of that, you being a new mother, I'm not a mother yet, but I can definitely imagine the support that you need while taking those courses and doing those exams. So it's great that you were able to get that community.
Yes.
Awesome. So you are the founder of Determined to Be a Doctor Someday. Can you tell us about this organization, what inspired you to found it, and how students can join?
Perfect. So Determined to Be a Doctor Someday is the primary initiative of the 516 Foundation. And the purpose of it is to encourage students who come from under-resourced communities, vulnerable communities, or underrepresented groups in healthcare to pursue the different professions. And it's not just isolated to dentistry, although the acronym is DDS. It was inspired by my participation in the American Dental Association's Institute for Diversity and Leadership. And just to give you the backstory of how that came to be, I had a second location or a second dental practice and it closed. And that was a point for me that was one of the lowest of my professional career. And that was because many people had told me that I was taking on too much and that it wasn't wise to open a second practice, considering I then had 2 sons. So I still had a small family, young family, and I had the other practice in Memphis, Tennessee. Well, I've always been ambitious. I've always, bounced by the beat of my own drum, not listening to naysayers and others. And I just figured, I'm young. If it fails, hopefully I have time to recuperate. And it did, but it didn't come without a bruise to my ego. Mm-hmm. And so when the opportunity for the ADA came about, I quickly took it because I needed a chance to get away to clear my head, but it was a requirement. I had to create something that would benefit my community. And that's how it came about. Now, why I chose the route of Determined to Be a Doctor Someday is because I grew up in the inner city and I didn't have a doctor on my street. And when I viewed doctors, I saw them in such a high esteem. I didn't see struggle. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it was very important that students who enter into any healthcare profession see that doctors are humans and that we struggle and that we come from a diverse set of backgrounds. Not everyone is fed with a silver spoon. Some of us really struggle and climb our way to our professions. And I wanted them to hear that and see that transparency. So that's what Determined to Be a Doctor Someday is all about, keeping the determination despite what obstacle you face.
I absolutely love that because there are so many roads and so many paths and so many lived experiences that people have. And while people may see a certain facade of different people, everyone has their own journey and their own story. And it's very important to reach back once you kind of attain what you want to do and seek that connection in that community and have that experience where people can share different things. I think similarly in my experience with being involved in certain organizations, this sounds similar to what the Student National Medical Association is for people who are interested in pursuing medicine. And I think that it's something that's out there to help increase that diversity in the field, because a lot of times we've already seen a lot of the healthcare disparities that are out there, and patients need to connect with people who come from similar backgrounds to them and understand their culture.
Yes, that is so critical. And I think that's one aspect of healthcare that's often omitted. We focus so much on the technicality of our professions and just trying to improve health outcomes, but we don't realize that those health outcomes can be improved if there's a level of cultural competence that comes with that. I'm more willing to listen to someone that I know may have had a shared experience than someone who I feel had a background of privilege, because you can relate more to my story. You can relate more to my myths that maybe, dwell within my community. And you would tell me and give me the information outside of judgment.
Absolutely. And speaking of your organization and your passions and reaching back, you're very passionate about mentorship. Why do you find mentorship to be important? And how would you suggest that students seek out mentors?
Mentorship is very important because remember, you're on a road not traveled. You've never completed a medical school curriculum or a dental school curriculum. And it's important to always have that voice for someone who has gone before you that can maybe tell you some of the pitfalls or some of the successes that, or some of the opportunities that you would not know about had you not sought mentorship. And if you are interested in getting a mentor, this is what I did. I wrote a letter to every dentist in the city of Memphis, every African-American dentist in the city of Memphis, and only one replied. And it didn't matter that I had written 75 letters. All that mattered is the one replied. And she took me under her wing. She took me to dental association meetings. She let me work in her office. And she was that mentor to me. And so if you're looking for a mentorship, first advice will seek out the people you're wanting to mentor you. 2 is just be persistent. And 3, recognize that a lot of people are busy. I didn't take it to heart when I didn't get replies from the other 74 doctors because I knew they had practices to run and families to tend to. But I stayed determined and I stayed persistent. So stay determined, stay persistent. And then once you find a mentor, remember, mentorships are about relationships. So you just don't want it to be a transactional interaction. You want it to be where you go into the office a day or 2, and then that's it. You want to keep the communication open. And I offer suggestions such as, if you see them in the news or in the newspaper, send a clipping and say, thank you, I'm so proud of you. Their birthday is coming up, maybe send a birthday card, but it's important to keep the line of communication open and not only gain from that person, but be willing to give something in return.
At Med School Coach, we know that getting into medical school is hard. In fact, 60% of pre-meds who apply to a medical school don't even get accepted. And if you want to get accepted into a top medical school, it's even harder. That's why more students than ever are turning to MCAT tutoring by Med School Coach. Our tutors are all 99th percentile scorers, have been through rigorous training, and can help raise your MCAT score by 12 points or more. You need every competitive advantage you can get to get into med school, so why not get one-on-one tutoring from Med School Coach? Our expert team will create a custom program just for you and help you master MCAT content where you need the help most. You'll raise your MCAT score. We guarantee it. Visit us online at medschoolcoach.com and use offer code PODCAST10 to save 10% up to $400 on a Med School Coach MCAT tutoring package. You can achieve your medical school dreams, and Med School Coach can help.
I love that because especially in these times of the pandemic where there may be decreased shadowing opportunities and other things, it's very good to just stay persistent. And there are tons of people out there that want to help, but sometimes just taking into account what's going on with them, you shouldn't take it personally if they don't get back to you. Be persistent and just try to get the most you can and try to use your different resources and community to figure out how to help yourself grow and get to where you want to go.
And may I also add just one small point? So there was a doctor I once asked to mentor me, and he just frankly said, I don't have time. And I didn't take offense to that. But what I knew is he was putting a lot of information out on the web. So things that he may not have been able to personally mentor me, but I was still able to be mentored by him from the resources that he had provided. So use resources that people put out there. If there's a question you have about something, Google it, YouTube it, Instagram it. It's your friend, so you don't have to have a personal direct relationship with someone. Even if they're indirect relationships, they are just as beneficial.
Absolutely. I couldn't say anything better. There are so many digital ways to gain information right now, and so many ways, I'm sure, that have grown since we were in school. I know we had YouTube and things like that, but now we have podcasts and we have TikToks and Instagrams and all of the different aspects for education, not only for our patients, but for us as well. So it's definitely great to utilize those resources, attend the conferences, even if they're virtual, network, join these communities where other people are exchanging ideas. You may learn a lot and as well as meet a lot of people too.
Absolutely.
You have your hands in a lot of different activities. You lead the Determined to Be a Doctor Someday organization, serve as the owner of your dental center, engage in public speaking. You've even authored a children's book called You Can Become a Doctor Too. How do you practice work-life balance, and how would you suggest that students who are early in their careers work to find that balance?
So when you talk about work-life balance, two words that immediately come to mind are time management, right? So there's no such thing as managing time. You just can only manage yourself within the time. So that's it. And being organized, being structured. And one value I like to add to balancing life is just doing everything with love. Yeah. And I know that sounds like so PC but that is really my truth. When I am with my family, they have my full attention. Even when my boys make a huge mess, I show gratitude that I have children that I can clean up after, because I understand that there may be people who wish they had children, or even my husband. And when I'm in my dental office, some patients, you will find out for yourself if you have not already, can really test every fiber of patience in your being. But I do it with love, because I understand that their fears stem from some place. And I let them know that we'll work through those fears together. And with DDS, when I look at those babies, which are not really babies, they're teens, I see myself through them. I give them the love, the attention, the nurturing, the development that I wish I had as a teen. So just really leading a life of love and putting love and passion in every role you play will make that balance so much easier. And I think that it's when we displace our values, when we displace our priorities, that's when that balance gets off. When I tend to put my business before my family, my balance gets off. When I tend to put my spirituality, my family before my spirituality, it gets off. So I think just having a tier and an order to your life, being as organized and structured as possible, but being flexible and surrendering to all that life can present to you, and just leading a life of love will give you the balance that you seek.
I love that so much. It's so important to figure out where your priorities lie and how to adjust them, and then to just go through life with this sense of love, appreciation, and gratitude, because we are very fortunate to be able to share our knowledge, our care, and everything with our patients and our communities. So just taking a step back, because life can get frustrating or scary at sometimes, or overwhelming, and just figuring out where you want to be and how to do that, and just doing what makes you happy.
That's right. And always being grateful, like you said.
Absolutely. Well, it was such a pleasure to chat with you this morning. If students wanted to reach out to you to learn more about your organization and things like that, how could they reach out to you?
So I have several outlets. I'm on Instagram at Dr. Christina, T as in terrific, Rosenthal. I am on Facebook under Christina T. Rosenthal, and also LinkedIn as Christina T. Rosenthal. The website for my nonprofit, Determined to Be a Doctor Someday, is www.determinedtobeadoctor.org. And then I also have a speaking website called prescribinginspiration.com. So those are some avenues you can reach out to get to me.
Definitely check that out, listeners, because there's a lot of information out there that you probably could use. And for that, I want to thank you for coming today, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Each episode of the Prospective Doctor podcast is brought to you by Med School Coach. To access articles, videos, webinars, and free tools to help you succeed on your journey toward medical school and beyond, visit our website, prospectivedoctor.com. We hope you tune in again next time.